For the past 10 years, I've been exposing and explaining the symbolism that the Illuminati or the elders or the elite elves are the ones who worship the sacred bull, which goes back to ancient times. And the worship of this sacred bull god from all the ancient cultures of the world inspired me to write my book, The Symbolism of the Bull God of the Bible, the Torah. And I have exposed in my videos all of the philosophies and theologies of the Illuminati's Bull, the bull god of the Bible, and the two realms of the bipolars of red and blue. So I want to quickly make this video and show once again how the Illuminati's Hollywood produces these films that right in front of your face shows you how the ancients and even today the enlightened ones of the Illuminati worship the sacred bull god. And the sacred bull represents the house of Taurus that is in the mansion, or one of the 12 houses in the mansion of the zodiac within the year. You see, what most people don't realize is that the entire film of Percy Jackson and the series, the books and the videos, are actually all telling the same hidden esoteric story that the Bible tells, or almost all Hollywood stories tell. So the Illuminati is telling you something, but most people don't have the eyes to see the unseen. So once again, in the Percy Jackson Sea of Monsters, the or second movie features the Bible, or the sacred bull god. For many years now, I have been explaining in my videos that the god Cronus, which is the god Saturn, the god El, the bull god, is the ancient Greek and Roman god that was the father god. So that's why Saturn, or Cronus, is the father god to his begotten son Zeus, the one who takes over his powers, just as our real children or sons do in real life. And again, if you have seen my videos in the past, you'll know that I've explained that Saturn, or Cronus, is actually the creator, the father god that created the very city in Phoenicia called Byblos, which of course the Bible takes its name. So you see, that's exactly why in Percy Jackson, the Sea of Monsters, the god and the whole theme of the movie is based around the god Saturn El, or Cronus. And you'll notice how they depict him as the bull god. And these very same theologies can be found in films like The Wrath of the Titans. So in the film Percy Jackson, The Sea of Monsters, you'll notice that the father bull god, Saturn El, or Cronus, comes from the sacred ark, the golden ark, exactly like the Bible, which of course the Ark of the Covenant was pulled by two Bibles. I have also explained in my videos that Zeus can transform into a bull, So Zeus is also known as the bull god, which of course is the symbol of Europe, or Europa, who is the whore that was carried upon the sacred bull, or the beast, the Phoenician whore of Babylon. So if you go to the theaters or rent the video when it comes out and watch this film, you'll see what I'm talking about. It's centered around the sacred bull. But let me explain exactly the true story and the hidden story they're actually telling you. And it is a story of nature, the basics, the seasons during the annual year. So this is why in the film and in the movie that it tells you that there is an end coming, an end to the world. But what they don't tell you is that they're talking about the end of the season, when the sun god Re returns and is reborn again. So that's why this whole movie is about the zodiac. And if you understand that, just like the Bible, you'll understand the story. And the story is about the basics of nature and life. Like I said, it's about living and dying, the new and the old, the new baby that's born, the old man that dies, the very beginning of the week, the end of the week, the beginning of the month, the end of the month, the bipolars of life, male and female, north and south. I mean, it's just basics, and that's what the movie is all about. So when you watch it, you'll understand that they're talking about the rising of Saturn, or Cronus, or El, the bull god, from down in hell. They're talking because this is what happens every year. This is what happens during the seasons when they go from the red to the blue, or from winter to summer, or just like day and night, when the sun goes to the underworld. Okay, so the bull god, Saturn El, will rise again from his grave. And that's what happens, theoretically, as far as the seasons go in life in a year. So Saturn, the corn fertility god, represents the very spirit of the season, or the harvest lord, the green man, if you will, which is why the whole story is based around the sacred tree that protects them. It's the tree of life. And speaking of the seasons, I mean, that's why they show you the red and the blue of winter and summer, male and female, day and night, the bipolars of red and blue. It's on the god Hermes, the messenger of the gods. Take a look at the Caduceus. You'll notice that his serpents in the film, if you watch it, that one will be red and the other one will be blue. And the serpent who comes from the underworld is an ancient symbol of life, death, and rebirth. And of course, the serpent powers are normally reflected and symbolized by the female, which is why you see Queen Elizabeth here holding the serpent, and why London has the dragons as the symbol for the city. And like I always teach in my videos, the serpent is related to the goddess, the female energy, which is why you'll often see serpents associated with eggs, or the dragons in movies, you'll see them protecting their babies because it's a female dragon that has her clutch or her eggs in a den or in a cave. So the female will often be associated with the serpent. And of course, this is why the queen dragon herself has the world's largest egg. And of course, the egg represents fertility. And the serpent or the snake is phallic in nature, thus the symbol of fertility. This is why the story of creation, or the story of sex in the Bible, known as Adam and Eve, is a story about how the goddess is related to the serpent, thus the creation of life to mankind, and thus the serpent represents the fertility of life. So the serpent is an ancient symbol of the fertility and the spirit of nature. The sun, the moon, the planets, the solar system, the universe, time, the seasons, thus symbolizing life and death. So the serpent does not represent evilness or Satan or whatever. The serpent or the snake has always been associated with the ancient gods all across the world. Like I said, it's a symbol of God or of nature and the fertility of nature. And then thousands of years later, it got perverted into being something evil. So all of this symbolism of the serpent does not mean whatsoever that there are actual reptilian shape-shifting humans on Earth. It's ridiculous. The truth is that that is an anthropomorphism of the very nature of the subject that we're talking about. And that is the spirit of nature. The whole movie of Percy Jackson is all about the mythologies. So there are no shape-shifting reptilians. Seriously, that's the Illuminati having fun with the sheeple. So the serpent is not only a fertility symbol of the overworld and underworld, it is also a symbol of poison or of medicine, which is exactly why the medical field uses this symbol of the serpent and the pole as its symbol. So the spirit of nature, or the green man, or the horned one, whatever you want to call him, the shaman, these ancient people would use the serpent as a symbol for their knowledge of wisdom and of life and death. And of course, shamans were the witches or the medical ones who administered the pharmaceuticals, or the drugs, if you will. And don't forget that magic mushrooms actually grow from bulls' shit. Did you notice the bull next to Cernunnos, the horned one, who holds the serpent? So the serpent is an ancient symbol that represents the fertility of nature and life and death. Thus, the reason that the ancient symbol can be found with the Greek god of healing, Asclepius. And of course, the serpent is related to the story of Moses as well as Jesus. And of course, the serpent related to gods goes back to ancient Sumerian mythology and Greek mythology, which is why you see this egg symbol and the serpent symbol right next to Zeus, the bull god. And notice the serpent next to the god Apollo, the sun god. And of course, the Lyre, which is associated with the bull. To the Druids, the bull and the tree were very sacred. Now take a look at the Druid to the right of the tree. Notice what he's holding. He's holding the caduceus. And of course, the ancient wise ones, or the Druids, knew about the seasons and about the cycles of nature. So the green man is also known as the spirit of nature, and thus associated with that of godlyhood. So the spirit of the green man represents the spirit of God. So nature, or the spirit of the green man, which comes from Mother Nature, is the fertility of the very essence of God in nature, thus green and lush. And this anthropomorphic character of nature can be found all throughout our lives, as in the Joker, the jesters, the jacks, the clowns, the satyrs. These are anthropomorphic characters of nature, like the stories in the Bible of Jacob and Esau, or Cain and Abel, Jesus, for that matter. Jesus is an anthropomorphic figure of nature. He's the green man. Jesus is an anthropomorphic figure of nature. He's the green man, exactly like Neo, who is the green man. Thus, the pills of red and blue. So perhaps now you understand the red and blue maypole of the matrix of the matriarchal Maytree. So in the film Percy Jackson, they show the sacred tree that protects them all, and it's associated with the goddess. And of course in the film Avatar, they also had the Tree of Life. So the Tree of Life symbol is the same symbol of the caduceus, which is why the caduceus has serpents, and so does the biblical Tree of Life. And of course, the sacred apple, or the fruit that bears from the tree. So you see, people are so confused and mistake the biblical words and convert them to mean what they've been told it means, or what they think it means. But the truth is something entirely different. The serpent or the apple does not represent evilness whatsoever. In fact, it's really just the opposite. These symbols represent life and nature, and all that comes from God. So you see, the apple is the fruit that comes from the old dying tree. So it holds all the wisdom of the old, as well as the rebirth of the new. So the tree of life is really just the tree of knowledge. Thus the biblical sense of knowing someone. Thus knowledge, which was knowing them intimately. Since ancient times, man has held the tree as very sacred. The tree is a symbol of fertility, and thus the reason that not only is it phallic in nature, but a tree is also very feminine in nature. In fact, the goddess as a tree can be found in the Bible, where the god El has a consort named Asherah, who is worshipped as a tree or a pole. And don't forget that trees come from Mother Nature, and thus the reason that trees are highly associated with the goddess. Which is why we enter a tree in Pan's labyrinth, and thus the labyrinth of the goddess. And that's exactly why you'll find the symbolism of the sacred bull. In order to reach the sacred goddess's labyrinth, you must first descend through her sacred hole, the rabbit hole. And so now you know exactly why the story of creation, or the Bible, is known as the Holy Bible. Thus the hole from the whore, or the hoe. And of course this is the whole symbolism behind the Holy Grail. Thus the phallic male sword dips into the chalice, or the cup of the female. So the mysterious black hole of the unknown has always been associated with the goddess, exactly like a cave, or even a volcano. The vagina vulva of the volcano, and thus the volcano goddess of Pele. So now you know why the vulva vagina volcano of the Vulcan gives the V sign. And of course the V is the symbol of the bull. So now you know why in religion you enter into a church, which is a kirk or a cirque. Thus the cirque of El, the circle of the goddess. So this is why you'll find the symbol of the Vesica Piscis at a church, because it's a symbol of the sacred goddess hole. And that's why they show Jesus inside of the vagina of the Vesica Piscis. So this is why governments across the world, for example, like at the United States Capitol, you will find a crypt, which is actually the sacred goddess hole, which is known as a compass rose, the rose of the goddess. And of course you'll find the rose or the hole of the goddess at the Vatican, where you'll also find plenty of sex magic symbolism. So now you'll understand why they talk about big black holes in outer space. And of course, the universe that was created from a big bang or an explosion. Now, in my past videos, I have explained this before about the sacred hole and how it's used in Hollywood, for example. And it's the meaning and theme behind the movie, but most people don't realize it. Like in the movie The Odyssey, where you have the seamen, well, they're the traveling fools, and the seamen with their swords, their phallic swords, and they enter into the cave of the goddess, and then they fight the serpentine, reptilian, whatever you want to call it, energy, force of the goddess of Earth, Mother Nature. And that's exactly why she swallows the seamen up. Okay, and if you watch the film, even at the end, she actually has an orgasm and squirts and, has an eruption like a volcano. And we saw the same story in Pirates of the Caribbean, where you have the traveling fool, or the Jack, who fights at the end. If you watch the movie, he fights the big, huge, gigantic sea monster, which is the big vulva, or the volcano, the big vagina. And if you watch the movie, it squirts on him and splashes on his face. In fact, it's actually the same story we find in the Titanic, where you have the traveling fool. His name is Jack. He's on a ship, and of course they get taken out, and they're gonna, fall to the bottomless pit of the sea, of the abyss. And of course the whole thing is about a love story. And of course the Titanic is named after the Titan god Cronus, or Saturn L, the sacrificial slain god of the Illuminati, the bull god of Percy Jackson in the Sea of Monsters. So perhaps now you will understand why it's Percy Jackson, the son of Jack, who holds the phallic sword and is a traveling fool on the open sea, the seaman. So perhaps now you'll understand the theme of the movie, which is getting swallowed up by the serpent goddess vagina. And don't forget that water represents the very essence of the goddess, which is why Percy Jackson can maneuver and rule over the aspect of water. And let me explain this a step further using etymology of the words. Percy Jackson. Percy means to pierce, thus coming from the word Peter, as in a penis that pierces, thus Percy. Jackson, the son of Jack, the character of nature. So Peter is the Petre, or the father, the penis, thus Peter Pan. And that's exactly why you'll find that Peter is the head of the church at the Vatican, who is also known as Jupiter, or Zeus. So this is the reason the movie revolves around Hermes, the fertility god, the god of the sacred Herma, or the phallic pillar. And don't forget that Hermes is a patron to thieves, and he is the trickster, or the liar. So Hermes really represents the figure of nature, like the Jack. Now Hermes is the patron to commerce and wealth, as well as transportation, or travelers and trade. Which is why in one of my past videos I explained about the jet airplane being a symbol of the traveler, and thus of Hermes, and the connection to September 11th, or the pillars. And thus the jets on September 11th that represented the flying Hermes, or the penis with wings. And this is exactly why they show you his symbol in the film Serpents or Snakes on a Plane. So the two are centered or balanced by the pole or the pillar in the middle. The three pillars. Thus the three Hermes of Hermes Trismegistus, which gives us our Hermetic maxim of as above, so below. So Hermes is related to the bull, of course, as well as the golden fleece. And of course the golden fleece is an animal skin. And actually the golden fleece is telling you the story of Aries the ram, the new spring lamb, or the Ayil of God, the Elohim, the horned ram, that came from the ancient bull god. Thus, the story of the animals of the zoo or the zodiac. And perhaps now you'll understand why Percy Jackson is a half-blood, thus made of two halves. So now when you watch the movie, you'll understand the true meaning behind it when they say that there is a destiny or a prophecy for Percy Jackson. Of course there is. He's the character of nature, life, death, and rebirth.
I heard there was a prophecy about me.
It would seem that the prophecy was referring to our annihilation.
Our home has come under attack. The only thing that has the power to save our home is the Golden Fleece. It's in the Sea of Monsters.
Tell me those aren't sharks.
Those aren't sharks.
When an ancient evil rises,
I will resurrect Chronos.
only one hero can save us all. Percy Jackson.
We gods are losing our power. We believed Titans to be imprisoned forever. Now, we're breaking free. We'll mean chaos. The end of the world.
So it's not the end of the world. It's the end of an age. The end of the annual season or the annual year.